Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And it is now time to go into Inferno 3 of the second anniversary Visions of Coleus Beatdown Battle Rerun. We've already gotten all the dupes of Cleash because we've done 2 videos on EX2. Inferno 3, quite a bit harder, actually. One, because of the amount of health she has, almost 2 million, and she has really high stats. 11.8k attack, 12.9k defense. She gives herself more defense. She nerfs greens, which for some teams is a problem, some teams it's not. Guaranteed crit, guaranteed pierce, crit resistance, pierce resistance really cuts down on the amount of teams you want to use here. And then she gives herself crit damage and pierce power, has guard rate, lowers your defense. So all in all, she hits quite hard. And even for my teams, by the time I get to turn 8 with the actual Visions of Coleus team, some people are almost dead. So Inferno 3 is going to be kind of a challenge for a lot of people, but there are ways to get around that. First off, she has no stun resistance. So if you want to, you could just stun the shit out of her and turn it into like a 15-turn fight, and she literally can't do anything to you. We showed that using Albedo in the EX2 video, and it works. Like, if you don't need Albedo, you can bring Guy, you could bring Light Raphael. Those units definitely work in a stacking format. And because this is an older rerun, well, it's an old beatdown battle, I do have a video dedicated to Inferno 3 when it first came out in November of 2023, so I'll have that linked in the description. And I do use a stun team there, I do use the Light 3.0 team, and I do use the Fount of Wisdom team there, and the Vengeance team. And Warrior's Mind? Yeah, Warrior's Mind. So there are other teams that I have used prior to this video. So today we're going to look at just teams that have come out that can do Inferno 3 that released after Visions of Coleus, which, to be honest, there's not that many that can actually do it unless it's a stacking blue, which we actually got a lot of. Okay, so first off, we're actually not going to use any of my content. We're actually going to use D2's, who is one of the sweaty tryhards, the big whales of the game. He has a small channel that he started up, and he's put a lot of videos out on really clearing hard content as quick as he can. So he's got this Exalted Champions team that clears Inferno 3 in 3 turns. 3 turns! And, you know, Velzard, Violet, Space Shizu, Veldora, Visions of Coleus, Rimuru, and Guy. And these are kind of necessary. You do need some very specific RNG, and you do need good gear with enchantments. Because I tried to run this team, and I did not do as much damage. Also looks like he had some barrier beacons up from the Union, which I'm sure definitely helped him out. But if we go through it, and again, all credit to D2 because he's the one that actually did this. Turn 1, you bring Rimuru in, and you bring Guy in, and you use Shizu's 0-cost skill, which gives us extra skill points, and then we send the 2 greens. And then turn 2, you need a 2-2-2 spread. 2 Guy, 2 Shizu, 2 Rimuru. If you get another Shizu orb, it cannot be a green, apparently. It could be an orange or a blue, but we use Coleus Rimuru now to convert all those to rainbows, and then we use the green buff from Veldora, because it also hits the rainbows, because they're considered every color of orb. And then it will bring Violet in. We'll use the Alt Rush. That gives everybody on the front line immediate ult. And then the 6 Hand of Rainbows gives everybody even more. Because we are running the Rainbow Orbs, giving us essentially a 6 Hand of Orange, plus the extra buff from Veldora. And now we have a 3 EX alt turn. And all of our nukers are up front. So we have now the magic buff, we have the synergy buff, we have the alt resistance down from Shizu, and then we'll have Velzard to give us the element damage. Now again, when I tried to run this, my Violet did not do nearly as much damage as his does, even though mine's a higher level, and that's purely because enchantments. So Guy 686, Shizu 372, and then Violet does just over 1 million. I think my Violet did like 700,000, with no enchantments, no barrier beacons whatsoever. But if you have some of those up, and you have enchanted gear on Violet, you could certainly run this team. So I'll put this video in the description as well, alongside my old Inferno 3 run. But, I mean, there's a team that can do it in 3 turns. The rest of this video, not 3 turns. Alright, so the first team that I'm going to use and show is the Primal Demon team. Violet, Misery, Diablo, Jean, Blanc, and then free-to-play Tempest Elite Gobta, because he's going to do our turn 1 convert. He's got an extra alt swap because I hate relying on just misery on this team because it's so very clunky and not helpful. And as we know from using this team in the EX2 video, this team does a lot of damage. Even though Hinata has that pierce resistance, it really doesn't matter that much when we're going to have like an extra 100% plus whatever pierce resistance down we're going to get from both Misery and Gobta now. And we're going to just nuke Hinata into the ground. So, turn 1, this is why we brought Gobta. I don't want to use Diablo's Orb change turn 1 because he changes all and he gets expensive, and I don't want to do that. So Gobta is doing double duty for it, well, triple duty. Pierce resistance down, Orb change, alt swap, looking good. We'll use Blanc's free zero-cost skills early just so we can get some extra attack, get some stacks on, and that's the entire point of this team. This is why I didn't want to use Diablo turn 1, is because turn 2, we're probably going to get hands that look like this. And while it's not great, we can get around it, because we have 58 points, which means we can use both Misery and Diablo. And the fact that we have 5 Primal Demons means that we're in pretty good shape to convert pretty much every turn, and even turns where we can't alt swap efficiently, we can just bring Gobta in. And as long as he doesn't have any orbs to begin with, I mean, we're going to look good. And here, turn 3, only 3 greens means Diablo's in charge. So, excellent. We'll use his orb change. We'll keep using the Blanc buffs. The first buff for Blanc, the alt and pierce power, is a lot more impactful for our damage than the second skill, because the second skill is only stacking attack, and it's giving orbs a permanent increase to their alt gauge, which is cool and everything, but we've got 5 more turns to go. We're going to have a lot of opportunity for that. So we don't need to really rush that much, but we do want to overcome Hinata's pierce resistance, which means we're going to need a lot of Blanc's first skill with pierce power to get around that. So here, looking good, and we'll just take Diablo out because I don't really care about his ult, and we can just do that. And that gets rid of his ult, which means I don't even have to ult swap there. So, excellent. Move on. More stacks. Look at that. Blanc orbs. This is why we don't really need to worry about her second skill. It's still good to get the stacks because it's still buffing, but we're already getting attack stacks from Violet herself. So adding on top of that, it definitely does help our damage, but it's not stacking 2 different types of damage like her first skill. So now, look at this. Let's use Violet, give her some stack. Alright, we can use Gobta's alt swap here. Excellent. That takes care of 1. We'll bring Diablo in. And then I think we could just orb change with him. I mean, it depends on who I want to bring him in for. Okay, so we'll use Gobta's convert there. We'll bring Diablo in. Or no, we don't actually have to. We'll just bring Misery in for Gobta. Yeah. And that, that solves all our problems. So then we'll use Blanc's second skill again. Another 3 orbs for her. Max points. We should be very close or at her EX ult now. With 3 more turns to go until the nuke. We're very close. Okay. That hurt. As I said, this stage can hurt a lot if you're not prepared, because she's got guaranteed crit, she's got guaranteed pierce, she's got the extra power for both of those buffs. This stage will kill you if you're low gear, not duped up, not ability of release and everything. It's gonna hurt. So you gotta either bring a healer, put a heal charm on, and not worry about the stacks so much of Violet. Whatever you need to do to keep yourself alive is going to be more important. Alright, so alt swap, pierce power, alt damage, excellent. And we're moving on to turn 7 now. Alright, counters are something you definitely don't want because they do hurt. And she seems to like hitting people with low HP, as exemplified right there. So Gobta is almost dead, so he can't be here anymore. But now we have 4 alts, which is very hard to navigate around. So, alt swap. Alright, Diablo comes in for Gobta. He only has 1 orb, which I wish he didn't have an orb at all. Alright, Gobta convert. Diablo in. Okay. And then alt swap. We'll use Violet. We'll alt swap again. And then we'll use the Misery convert, I believe. Because we can't take her out yet, because we still have that. So yeah, convert and alt swap. And that gives us not a total cap on points, which is unfortunate, but we have Jean, who's going to give us the 300 on turn 8 and reset Blanc's skills down to 0. So that's going to make us do a whole butt ton of damage. So Jean comes in for Misery. We will do our double stack with Violet. Violet now ensuring that we can use a bunch of Blanc skills in one turn because we're going to have so much skill points. So Diablo buff, the other Jean buff, the first stat, or one buff, no buff of Blanc, because we need to have 80 points to reset. So there's the reset plus 300, and now we just do this over and over and over again. But it is important to stack the most with her first skill, because you're getting Pierce Power, you're getting alt damage. Once you've run out of skill points for that, then you start doing the other skill, because you're getting less return out of it. So you don't need extra alt gauge anymore. We're going to nuke here. So one more use, boom, excellent. And then we'll send Diablo first for funsies, just to lower, I think, physical resistance. Pierce Power, never mind. But Blanc, that's the important one right here. She's the reason we're nuking. And Full Bloom White does 5.3 million. And Hinata Inferno 3 has just under 2 million HP. So definitely overcame her pierce resistance by all means. Let's move on. Alright, next up is another blue stacking team that came out after Visions of COLEUS, the Commander team. Renard, Gopta again, because he's just that good as a free-to-play character. And now he's physical. Well, he was physical in the last team too. But it still works out. We're not so much on Pierce anymore. We're running a synergy-focused team, which is what the stage wants us to do. So Shizu, physical attack, EX alt damage. Glenda's got the synergy rate, physical resistance down, double alt swap, plus Gopta's alt swap means we have a triple alt swap now. Diablo's our primary damage dealer, and then Hinata is our backup secondary nuker. And this team, not going to have as much power as the Primal Demon team, but it's still going to get the job done. So turn 1, again, we brought Gopta. I do not like using Hinata's Orb Change turn 1 because it doesn't have the gauge increase. It's only going to give us 48 skill points. It costs 30 points, and all it does is has the multi-hit, which does not matter in this stage. It only mattered for that team in that beatdown battle and that Jubilee that was blue focused and had a shield. That's the only reason that multi-hit is useful. Otherwise, it's actually pretty shit. Now, if they had put multi-hit alongside a 10% gauge increase, I would consider it much better. But it doesn't, so it sucks. So here, we'll use the Shizu Convert for the one orange orb, because, whatever. And then we'll start rushing Diablo's ult with his Lord's Ambition skill, which does give him 25 or 35% ult gauge, just immediately for free. And then it prevents him from getting debuffed, which is cool. So he can't have his attack lowered, he can't have his defense lowered while it's active. And then the other part of that skill, which has no effect, is that it lowers weakness resistance while it's up on the enemy at the end of the turn, which we're not type advantage, so that has 0 use. So, oh well. It is what it is. It does alt rush him, which is good, because I'm pretty sure this run... actually, no, I guess it was a run prior to this. This is not my first run with this team. And the first time I ran it, I got literally, 0 Diablo orbs. Until we got his ult, and then I got 1 Diablo orb. And it was really sad. So I really need to make sure to rush that. But here, we don't need him because we are all rushing. We don't need him to get orbs. There's no point in leaving up front for his Lord's Ambition. He doesn't get anything here from the stacks of Renard, because again, no one is type advantage, so the weakness strike doesn't matter. The ult resistance down from Renard matters, but we can apply that at any point with anybody up front, and it doesn't matter. So, boom, boom. We'll bring Diablo in for Gopta. Excellent. We'll bring Glenda in for Shizu. We'll alt swap, and then we'll probably use Lord's Ambition again, because we got points for it, and he only has 1 orb. Yep, there you go. Alright, cool. So we're going to be very close to his EX alt after this turn. One more orb that he's going to have with his alt, or we could use Lord's Ambition again, it doesn't matter. But Hinata hits, thankfully hits Glenda, who has type advantage, so she's got a little bit extra defense, even though she's the free-to-play character. I do have Enchanted Jacket on Glenda for extra defense as well, just because I want the free-to-play units to be a bit more tanky. That's the only kind of enchantment I do for free-to-play characters, though, is just their jackets for defense. But Diablo, now we've got his ult, you can get out of here. And then we'll burn off these last 2 turns, just sending Glenda last, because she is type advantage. But Hinata is starting to look a little low, but we do have her EX ult, which is good. So ult swap, convert, stacks of Renard, we'll bring Gobta in, just so Shizu doesn't take any additional hits. And we do need Gobta up front because we need someone to bring in, so we can give Diablo both the buff from Glenda and then bring Shizu in to give him her buff, because I need the synergy rate from Glenda. I also would very much like the buff from Shizu, so that's why we did that. So now, Glenda gives everybody synergy rate, and then we swap her out, which both her and Hinata are pretty much dead. And then we'll use all the other big time buffs. And 2 more stacks of Renard, which is 20% ult resistance down, the only thing that matters here. And now, we'll nuke. We'll nuke with Hinata first, because I want to see the damage that she does. And, I mean, we have the points, but I don't actually use anything. Hinata does 1 million. Okay. Diablo does 2 million. 2.1. So Diablo would have one-shot even at full HP. That is very good to know. It does go to show that he can do still good damage right there. But I would say obviously not nearly as powerful as the Primal Demon team. 1, because we're not getting that extra 6% damage buff. And 2, it just has... I mean, Diablo, with his big-time buff, cannot compete with a fully stacked up Space Blanc, like on her own meta. He just can't. But not a lot of people can. And that's what makes her so good on that Primal Demon team. But you could also put that Diablo on Primal Demon, and he would work. Alright, and of course, the final team is the Ogre's Pride team. The last blue stacking team to come out for, this year currently. And very much capable of killing Hinata, whether you nuke with Shuna or Momiji, it doesn't matter. You don't need Elmizia here. This team just does way too much damage. You can bring in Water Shuna for an orb change and an ult buff, that's fine. You could bring Guy in, you could bring Megamine if you have her. Substitutions can definitely be made. And especially if you're going to nuke with Shuna, if you happen to pull Shuna, you don't need Violet either for the magic buff. I do want her for the orb change, but again, you could just bring another orb changer, and you'll still have more than enough power to do this. Alright, and what makes Soe so good is that you can change any color orb to blues. So we got 2 greens, it doesn't matter. 2 oranges, it doesn't matter. 1 green, 1 orange, doesn't matter. They're all blues now. So, sending 6 blues. I don't remember who we actually nuke with on this team. I remember nuking with Momiji for EX2. Do I nuke with Shuna instead? I might. I also distinctly remember not getting the full Soe buff, because I used Shuna early. We nuke with Shuna on this team instead, just to show that she can do it as well. She doesn't have that massive fire buff that Momiji has, but she does have that personal 120% magic buff, and then she's giving weakness strike to everybody, which again doesn't really matter for everyone except Violet, who is not the main focus of the nuke on this team. And alright, good Violet hand, excellent. We could use Elmizia for her HP skill. Not that it really matters, because all it is giving us another 100% HP, but we don't have a healer. We're not running Prosper Lumi. We certainly could. It would make things work, and we'd have the heal, and then we would really not be in danger of dying for most of this team. But I didn't bring her. So all it's doing is giving us the Enamor effect, which just means that we have ults, which means that we have blue orbs, which is kind of why I wanted to do it, because I just want ult gauge. Plus we're running the ult gauge on Blue Charm, because we don't really need that many stacks of Benimaru, quite honestly. 10% ult damage is not super impactful. I would rather much get ults quickly, that way we have guaranteed blue orbs, and then it really cuts down on the necessity of orb changing. So extra ult, Shuna is going to have her EX ult here. We only need 1 convert. We could either use Soe or Violet, doesn't matter. Either one will do. It looks like we're going to use Soe. That works out just fine, so change. We'll bring Elmizia in, sure. Another HP skill, so more Enamor. I guess we're just trying to rush EX alts for days. But there's Shuna's EX alt. She's ready to go. Now, because math is hard, right? You need to use 300 skill points before you use Soei's skill to get the whole maximum power synergy buff. Yeah, I think I use Shuna's buff now, which cuts in to that 300, right? So yeah, there we go. I use that now, like an idiot. I wasn't going to use Violet's buff, so we're only going to be at 240 points by the time we get there. So, obviously, it's in the clip, or the clip is in the video, so we nuked it, and successfully anyways. Doesn't really matter all that much. But, moving into turn 7, people are getting low HP. Momiji, alright, well, maybe not low, because it was the HP skill. But here we go. Shuna can come back in, and man, that is an interesting concept right there. Alright, so we swap her for Momiji, alt swap away, and then we bring Elmisia in, who very much is in danger of dying on this turn. So maybe not the smartest move, but we're going to send her alt. Alright, so boom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're still max points, 22,000. Excellent damage. Look at that. All right, counters not great. Counters not great. And the final hit, guard, whatever. 1, 2, 3. And even Elmisia is a nut tap away from dying as well. So, buff. We'll send her away. She has 1 orb, so we'll bring Shuna in for her. And then we'll bring Momiji in for Violet, since we've technically already used Shuna's magic buff. But again, that only puts us at 240. And we don't have a way to get us to that 300 point barrier before we're using Soei, so we're just going to use Soei anyways. So we're only at 50% synergy power now. Yeah, it really doesn't matter all that much. 2.4 million. So we would have just done like 2.8 or something like that instead. Tragic. Alright, well there it is. There are a bunch of teams that you can use to clear Inferno 3 of the Visions of Coleus Beatdown Battle rerun. Again, thank you to D2 for posting that video, letting me use it, because my team could not do it as the way it's currently built. But if you have any others that can clear Inferno 3, let me know in the comments. And also, there is the previous video for Inferno 3 that I recorded last year down there as well. But that's it for me, guys. Take it easy, and I will see you all later.